Hutch is unbelievably and doesn't understand modern politics at all. So here's the debate between Pisco, Hutch, and Jessiah. And Hutch literally argues that the Democrats should not run on a political accountability for the current administration because that would violate the apolitical prosecution norms and undermine the legitimacy of institutions. But first of all, I did not say that the Democrats should not run on political accountability. The opposite. I think Democrats, where this kind of message would really resonate, should run, especially congressional Democratic candidates, should run on oversight and accountability for the current administration. 100%. Political accountability is different from legal accountability. But I don't even think Democrats that are running from congressional seats should shy away from opining on legal accountability for the Trump administration. I don't think there's anything wrong with a Democratic candidate running for a seat in Virginia or something like that to say, I think that the Trump administration has committed crimes and I would like to see the legal system hold them accountable. There's nothing corrupt about that. They could even say, in my capacity as a House of Representative, like a US representative, you can count on my vote to deliver criminal referrals to the Department of Justice if we investigate the previous administration and find crimes. We will make criminal referrals to the DOJ. That's something that the Congress can do, and there's nothing corrupt about that inherently. We literally had 4 years of this shit under Biden. It didn't matter how much Merrick Garland did to appease the Republicans, how much he tried to prove his neutrality by going after Democrats. Half the country still believe that the prosecution of Trump is political. I don't even like this framing. So should he not have prosecuted Menendez and Cuellar? Should he not have investigated Cuellar and Menendez? Like, it seems like that's what he's saying. Well, we already tried that thing where we had an AG that prosecuted Democrats. Is he saying that the Justice Department should be explicitly partisan? That's what it seems like he's saying. It's the same shit with MSM. They literally go out of their way to be neutral, which means they are infinitely tougher on Democrats and easier on Republicans. And it literally doesn't get them any credit because the entire right wing is still convinced that the media is all biased against them. Bro, they are just working the refs to unfairly tilt the game in their advantage, and Dems just let them do it because they are terrified of violating norms. Meanwhile, Trump literally sent innocent people to foreign torture gulags. I don't know what he means when he says the Dems just let them do it. I don't know what that means. The Democrats are very actively pushing for accountability for this administration. And if we give them controlling chair of the House and the Senate in November, they will very expeditiously start holding public hearings with cabinet members. And I feel pretty confident that they'll impeach Trump again. I think we're inevitably headed towards that. So I don't know what he means when he says like Dems just let them do it. Like they have power, so they're going to do these things. They're going to violate these norms, and it is what it is. But like, I just want to say once again, I just want to stress once again, what is Trump actually getting for violating these norms? It is making him less popular with voters. They perceive it as corrupt. They don't like stuff like him directing DOJ to investigate people. It's not politically beneficial that Trump is doing these things. I don't understand the premise that, well, they're doing it, so we should do it. Like, really? I don't think it's going over well with voters. At one point in the debate, Hutch literally says that if a Democrat talked about prosecuting Trump, that would lose them massive popularity. I don't know if I said massive popularity. Jessiah asked a reasonable counter that Trump has literally run on this and got elected twice. And Hutch's response is that actually the Republican Party has lost more elections in the last 10 years, except for the ones that actually mattered. Now, this is fucking ridiculous. Excuse me? The 2018 election really mattered. That was the reason why Trump got impeached not once, but twice. The 2020 election was obviously mattered. The 2022 elections obviously really mattered. Like picking up an extra Senate seat in 2022 is the reason why it's possible that Democrats can win the Senate in 2026. Do you guys realize this? If we had not picked up a Senate seat in 2022, the Senate would be totally out of reach in this election cycle. Trump had a winning election cycle in 2016, or Trump and Republicans had a winning election cycle in 2016 and 2024. They had a losing election cycle in 2018, 2020, and 2022. They're going to have another losing cycle in 2026. And I believe we are inevitably headed towards a future where in 2028, the Democrats probably win a trifecta in government again. So in the whole era of Trump, if my predictions are correct, the Democrats will have had 5 winning election cycles versus 2 for Donald Trump. That to me does not indicate that Trump has made the Republican Party stronger or that we should be emulating his tactics. I think I'd rather not. He is unable to grapple with the fact that 10 years is of his fucking milquetoast establishment norms based strategy has led us to the hell that we're in right now. I don't even really understand what that means. Genuinely don't understand what that means. Milquetoast establishment norm of the independent nature of the DOJ. That's milquetoast? That's what we're talking about? Bro, any prosecution of Trump will be seen as politically motivated, I assume they mean, by around 40% of the country. Your attempt to avoid that is futile. I don't think you can avoid that. There are going to be people with partisan brain rot, and whether it's 30 to 35% or 40%, there is going to be a baked in percentage of the country that no matter what view these kinds of prosecutions as political, even if there's no evidence. You can't actually avoid that. What you can avoid is losing a lot of normies by just coming out and saying, I'm going to fucking direct prosecutions. But Garland waiting around and not doing it for years was way more damaging than striking when the iron was hot, because it gave people time to forget all the shit they hated about Trump and only remember the pre-COVID economy. The Dems trying to play 100%. I agree with this. The Dems trying to play 100% by the norms got them nothing. I mean, this is just not true either. These analyses just ignore all the Republican losses. It sounds like Hassan. Like when Hassan talks about the Democratic Party, he'll say stuff very casually like, this is why the Democrats always lose. It's like, well, that's just like obviously not true. The Democrats win quite often. In fact, in the last year, they're winning a lot. People don't care about Democratic norms if they perceive you to be trying to help them or on their side. This just feels like a logic to just, get rid of norms that strengthen liberalism in America. This is like tanky. This is what I call black pill libs. They're just kind of using the tanky logic. They want a benevolent dictator. That's what they want, right? That's what they're going for here, right? Dems aren't winning because of being Dems. They're winning because the GOP is despicable. But why are I don't even dispute that. I don't think the Democratic Party is especially popular right now. But why do people think that the GOP is despicable? It's because Donald Trump is corrupt as fuck. And he is governing like a would-be authoritarian tyrant, i.e., he is ignoring norms. And in some cases, laws and constitutional rights. That's not making him more popular. Also, any Democrat who refuses to run on accountability will massively demoralize their own base and will be seen as weak, especially after all the Epstein shit. Bro, the public literally perceives that administration to literally be full of files. If there was ever a time to run on, we're going to throw the book at these people. That time is now. The next Dem candidate should be able to straight up call Trump a file, or at least directly talk about Epstein allegations on the debate stage. Hutch literally thinks calling for DOJ to look into crimes from previous admin is too far. Bro, the public is past that. The Democrats are already doing that now. They're already running on oversight and accountability for the Trump administration. They're currently running on that to wild electoral success. Actually, I don't know if the candidates themselves are running on that, but certainly members of Congress are very vocally talking about the need for accountability. And I assume once we get closer to the midterms, we will see more instances of Democrats that are running for seats that are just outwardly saying, like, one of my pitches to voters is going to be, if you elect me, we are going to conduct necessary oversight for this corrupt administration. All of that is fine. Quote, when people feel uncertain, they'd rather have someone strong and wrong than someone weak and right. Bill Clinton. this seems like it's a pitch that we should employ a strategy of pursuing candidates that are strong and wrong. I don't really want that. Like I genuinely, maybe that's not the binary that they're coming up with. Like I genuinely thought the 2024 elections definitely disproved all this shit. The American people do not give a shit about norms. They literally elected a guy who tried to steal an election, and it was still about immigration and inflation. Kamala literally ran the most, quote, appeal to the moderates, end quote, strategy of all time, and she still lost. I mean, that's just not true. That's just not true. We're saying that her 2024 platform was the most moderate platform of all time. But the way she ran her campaign, she was running on Trump's corruption, by the way. Except Kamala already did. Hang on. Because she seemed inauthentic and fake and was tied to Biden, which she refused to distance herself from. That's obviously a bad thing that she did. We talked about that a lot. Hutch genuinely seems to think that the way you appeal to moderates and independents is by moderating on policy and respecting the norms. Except Kamala already did that and lost the popular vote. When will he understand that Trump actually appealed to moderates and independents by seeming authentic and running on populist drain the swamp message? I think if the world had not experienced the post-COVID inflation, that Donald Trump would not have won that race. Period. End of story. I do not think he would have been especially... I think he would have lost by bigger margins, definitely, than he lost in 2020. As soon as you inject economic disruption into like a nation's politics, then that will always take priority over everything else. That is the reason why he won. And the reason why Kamala lost was not because she moderated. That is nonsense. That does not make any sense. She lost because she moderated too much, and yet like 60% of the country thought that she was too liberal. Like, how does that make any sense? She did better. She performed better in the battleground states than she did relative to performance in the other states. And she was aggressively campaigning in those states. She did better in those states, and somehow her moderating rhetorically hurt her in that election. Like, where is that coming from? That is like a purely vibes-based analysis. There's no like databasis like whatsoever for that claim. It's just internet bubble shit. That's all that is. It's just people that person follows on social media. They're all saying that she lost because she moderated a little bit, and they just accept that as truth. There's nothing that you can point to say that she lost because she moderated. There's no basis for this. When will he understand that Trump actually appealed to moderates and independents by seeming authentic and running on a populist drain the swamp message? I actually already do acknowledge this. Wait a second. Hang on. Trump won because he appealed to moderates, but Kamala lost because she appealed to moderates? Like, pick one. That doesn't make any fucking sense. So it was good to appeal to moderates, right? She literally campaigned with Liz Cheney, dude. Oh my God. We're not going to do this. Dude, you don't actually think that was a big deal, do you? Do you really think that? Lefties point to the Liz Cheney thing as this thing that's like worthy of mockery, but the irony is that if you're a lefty who didn't support Kamala for whatever reason, she wasn't sufficiently anti-capitalist or anti-Israel enough, then unironically, Liz Cheney did more to save the fucking republic than these lefties. Liz Cheney, like, it actually paints a horrible picture of the particular lefties that I'm talking about. That they didn't understand that the moment required for each individual voter and all these politicians to move beyond like the normal kind of analysis. He was so dangerous that a lifelong hardcore conservative, like Liz Cheney was not just like a moderate conservative. She is a hardcore conservative. And she ran with, she endorsed Kamala and did 2 campaign stops with Kamala Harris. Not because she liked Kamala's policies. In fact, she would go out of her way to say, I don't like her policies. We have different politics, but I'm choosing to walk across the aisle because I think Donald Trump is so dangerous. She recognized the threat when these fucking idiot lefties didn't. They didn't understand the threat, and they still don't. To be honest with you, How many of those people have come out and said, I made a mistake? He's been so awful and I should have taken the election seriously. Besides Ogre Boy, apparently he's taken a different position lately. Cheney lessened Harris's chance of winning over the people she was never going to win over anyways. Exactly. Exactly. And even if it is somewhat electorally damaging, winning on a super safe status quo campaign isn't actually good if you want to structurally change the country and actually prevent this from happening, because you want to have a mandate to do anything. I don't even know where to begin with this. How many Americans are looking for structural change? Like how many Americans want to like radically change the system? You know, there's individual policy points, like maybe some people want to expand the court, or some people, I mean, listen, if I could snap my fingers and reform the way that we delegate how many Senate seats each state gets, I would do that shit. So like I want some structural changes, but I think like most of the electorate, they just want their paycheck to go further, and they want to not worry about going bankrupt if they get fucking sick or injured. That's like the biggest priorities for Americans right now. Most Americans are not trying to like supplant the entire like capitalistic structure, or, you know, radically change the way that we do government or the Constitution. I would like to radically change what the president can and can't do. I mean, I would get rid of the pardons. That shit is crazy. Look at Keir Starmer in England. He literally did this strategy, and now the far right is probably going to win the next election. There's different types of election victories. If you want to actually save the country, you're going to need a mandate for massive structural reform and changes to things like social media, presidential powers, wealth inequality, abundance, etc. You want the next Dem admin to actually go in with a mandate, a reform program ready to go. The thing that I think like the biggest issue I have here is that Biden did the fucking opposite that Keir Starmer did. Now, I don't know much about UK politics, but what I'm told is that Keir Starmer pivoted pretty decently to the center, right? Am I wrong about that? I really can't get into specifics for there. But is it not true that the Labour Party has moved away from Corbyn quite a bit and pivoted to the right? Joe Biden did the fucking opposite. He was elected president, inaugurated it, and then pivoted to the left. That's what happened. Any other take is historical revisionism. It didn't matter at the end of the day. It didn't matter. Where is my legal weed? You need a bill from Congress to do that, and I really can't explain why Congress hasn't moved on this. Maybe there's some corrupt influence from like the pharmaceutical lobby. I really don't know. Like, I can't explain that. Support for legalizing marijuana is pretty sky high, but I don't think that the Congress can prevent the states from making marijuana illegal, can they? Like, if the Congress decided to pass a law to legalize marijuana federally, could the states not just ban marijuana? Yes. Even if Congress legalized marijuana at the federal level, individual states could still ban it unless the federal law explicitly prohibited states from doing so. In the US system, federal legalization removes the federal ban, does not automatically force states to legalize. Wait, so can the federal government force states to legalize it? Congress could legalize marijuana at the federal level, but it cannot force states to legalize it. That's one of the places where constitutional structure draws a very bright line. So you would need a constitutional amendment to force states to legalize weed. So like, I don't even know what the broader consequences of Congress legalizing weed would be. Would it lead to more states legal? I guess maybe that would happen. I guess that that would still probably be like a huge benefit, because I'm pretty sure that would lead to states legalizing it after that, right? Bank transactions. Yeah, but you can do that through decriminalizing it as well. I don't even think you need to legalize it. Wouldn't jobs be impacted? I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of jobs that do drug testing and will disqualify candidates if they have test positive for marijuana. I wonder if that would change a lot of those things. The 21st Amendment repealed prohibition, but that doesn't stop counties from being dry. Interesting. Okay. Tribal nations legalizing it in prohibited states is hilarious. There's a lot of that in Nevada. As you're driving through Nevada on the, 395, whatever that highway is. You see a big like signs like, we have hella weed, swing by the fucking blah, blah, blah. Dry counties doesn't make it illegal to possess and drink alcohol. You just can't buy it. Gotcha. Okay. All right. From the 2024 election, it should be clear that the candidate that is authentic and can talk candidly with people and be blunt actually seem like they have a vision of what they want and a story to tell, but has some unpopular policies is way better than a candidate that has a perfect poll-tested popular position. Every single one of Kamala's policies polled better than Trump's. That's true, but seems fake and scripted. I agree with all this. I don't know why this necessarily means that Newsom has to say, you know, we are going to prosecute Trump and hold him accountable. Kamala's moderation didn't help her because the moderates perceived her as fake and not really meaning it. Meanwhile, Bernie, who on policy is way more left-wing, is actually the most popular senator. I actually don't know if that's true. I think Ossoff might be the most popular senator now. Have you seen Ossoff's numbers in Georgia? But actually, maybe that's not his favorabilities, but in like head-to-head matchups with potential Senate rivals, he's like crushing. Ossoff, I think, is like a major dark horse for the presidency. That guy's got a lot going for him. Super charismatic, like probably the most attractive senator, if we're being honest. Like, who competes with him? Ossoff leads most Republican challengers in recent polling. A Newsweek reported poll shows he edges out all but one Republican hypothetical matchups. Real clear polling averages show Ossoff ahead by double digits against Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, with margins ranging from +11 to +17. Separate poll suggests Brad Raffensperger is the only Republican who could beat him, including Ossoff's relative strength against most GOP contenders. I also want to point out that one of the reasons why Bernie Sanders is more popular than most politicians in this country, or most senators certainly, is that because he is a populist. He is an anti-establishment populist. So there are a not insignificant amount of Republicans who like Bernie Sanders because he kind of shits on the Democrats. And so he gets boosted by that. But, you know, Bernie, for example, I think he did worse than Kamala. Am I wrong about that? Didn't both Bernie and Elizabeth Warren underperform relative to Kamala? So like less people voted for them on the same ballot than they did for Kamala. Another lesson was that people don't give any credit for the machinations behind the scenes. Republicans blocking Biden's immigration bill before the election didn't hurt them at all because all the people paying attention were already decided, and the people who weren't paying attention just saw Biden as president while the border crisis was happening and blamed him. I agree with all that, for sure. This literally applies one-to-one with the shutdown, where it was being blamed on Trump and Republicans, meaning that the Dems could have held out for way longer and had massive leverage, but Chuck caved probably to preserve the filibuster. So first of all, Chuck himself didn't cave. It sure seems like he was earnestly trying to prolong that shutdown more. It was these 7 or 8 Democrats who decided to vote to pass the budget because they couldn't see a point in continuing it. Also, the author of this post here doesn't seem to entertain the possibility of diminishing returns or perhaps like negative returns past a certain point. I tend to think that the Democrats ended that shutdown like near the optimal time, where they extracted probably like the maximum value. Hutch is straight up lying right now. Chuck pushed to reopen. No. Look it up, brother. Look it up. He voted against the budget that reopened the government, and there was reporting that I'm sure he probably leaked, by the way, to suggest that he was trying to lobby these senators to hold the line. Such as double lying, there's no negative for the party out of power. Well, there's just no, well, first of all, there's no precedent. So this is all just kind of theory crafting here. That was the longest shutdown in history. But if you get to a point where, like my podcast co-hosts, for example, they were open to keeping the government shut down literally until the midterms. And if you do that, like each month that goes by where the government is shut down, you are increasing the risks of a recession, you know, unemployment spikes. Maybe we get like a deflationary spiral, which is really bad, shrinking GDP, significant job losses. In that kind of environment, I can easily see the American public saying, I don't care who ends this, it just needs to end, and just equally blaming both parties. I don't understand why some people are so confident to say, no, wait a second. No, the public would have our back no matter what. I don't understand what that confidence is based on. Bad look for 21 Dems to vote to keep the government open for the next 10 days. It will help get us more leverage. Argument needs to be explained to me. I mean, I don't understand how it's bad. Like if we can, obviously we have leverage, you guys, obviously. The administration sent in Homan, who just announced today a drawdown of 700 ICE agents or DHS agents out of Minneapolis. So that doesn't go far enough. I want all of them fucking gone. But obviously the administration right now is, they are feeling the heat and responding to the pressure. You had Mike Johnson on the Sunday show coming out and saying that they are willing to do some of these reforms. In fact, Mike Johnson was trying to spin it as, oh, this is all what Trump wants. Trump is the one that's pushing for these reforms, which is obvious bullshit. So if you can avoid a government shutdown, which is like, do we agree that that's ideal? If you can extract concessions without a government shutdown, obviously that's ideal, right? My theory, you guys, is some people are attracted to the chaos. They want the shut it all down kind of situation with no real thought to the consequences. The only honest thing to say on a massive prolonged shutdown is that it would be pure speculation guessing how it would play out, and that goes in Hutch's favor. I just think like the public was spared a massively disrupting event. If the last shutdown would have pushed into the Thanksgiving holiday and into the Christmas holiday season, that would have massively disrupted travel, trade. And then, of course, you do have something like, is it 2 to 3 million federal workers who are just not going to be paid during that time. And, you know, a lot of senators are not comfortable with the idea of prolonging a shutdown and having a significant amount of their own constituents, especially in states like Virginia, where there's a heavy concentration of federal workers. A lot of senators just like genuinely don't want their constituents to not get a paycheck through the holidays. Okay. Does a shutdown not just innately do damage to the controlling party? Not necessarily, because Obama was in office when Ted Cruz presided over a government shutdown through the filibuster, I think, right? Over ACA stuff, and the public blamed Republicans for that. Grogglebob with 30 months, every time this argument comes up where people say that we ought to keep the government shut down, I just shake my head. For some reason, people never remembered that the majority of voters are normies and are not online. You have to look at the normies, full stop. Listen, I'm a big, like, pay attention to the normies guy, okay? Okay, 2LDR, I feel like Hutch is just wedded to this old model of how politics works, which is just totally outdated, in my opinion, totally debunked and discredited during the 2024 election. I mean, this is just a very broad statement, but I think all of you should have the goal of creating the healthiest, most functional, liberal, democratic structure. I think you should principally want that, because otherwise, what's the point of calling yourself a liberal? Like if you're saying the liberal experiment is just dead, that Trump killed it, that we're past that, we're in a new paradigm, and political corruption is just going to be just a necessary fixture in American politics until we're sort of like out of the danger zone, I totally reject that premise. I think that by continuing to chip away at norms that make our institutions stronger and thus make our democracy stronger, I think chipping away at those norms, that is what puts us in the danger zone. And I have no problem I want to be the party that is like still fighting for these things. If we just walk away from these things, if we just ignore norms and just like, which isn't to say that every norm is sacred, but like if we're just saying like, throw it all out, there is no playbook anymore. Well, at that point, I feel like you're kind of just giving the same logic as accelerationist lefties. It's just applied in a different kind of way. If we don't hold the Trump admin accountable, we are abandoning our principles that no one is above the law, that criminals will be prosecuted, and that there are no rules for thee, and there are rules for thee and none for me. So thankfully, I think that the criminal justice system in this country should hold the Trump administration accountable. Thankfully, I don't hold the position that we should not hold them accountable. Hutch, but you agree you can't continue the game if one party does not play by the rules? No, I don't think I agree with that. We're heading in another direction of a problematic analogy here. I don't think that Trump, like, violating the law and violating the Constitution and violating really important norms necessarily means that the Democratic Party can't win unless we also do those things. You'd have to explain that to me. I don't really understand. Like, what do you think the Democrats, what norms do you think they should violate in a way that would make us more competitive with Trump? Can we get into more specifics? Does that mean that we should send ICE to polling stations or whatever? Like, what does that mean? No specifics, just games? Okay. We can do it that way as well. It's just the fact that a norm does not exist if one of two parties in the system doesn't uphold the norm. They can't be unilateral, or they are only norms for Democrats. Well, you would have to explain to me how we would benefit. Like, we need to get into specifics. Okay, so like, what norm do you think we should? I might agree with you on some of these, by the way. I don't think that we should fight tooth and nail to preserve every single norm. I can be persuaded to abandon some norms. But what norm do you think? Like, can I get like? I do want to answer to that question to YouTube chat and Twitch chat. Give me some examples of norms that you think the Democrats should just disregard because Trump has disregarded them. And then I want you to explain how it's going to help us win elections and build power. Hutch, previous presidents not commenting on the current admin. That one fucking gone. Okay. That norm is gone. Okay. We are in a new paradigm there. And it's not necessarily a sign of a healthy democracy, but I don't think that norm is sacred. I think sometimes things can get so bad that Barack Obama comes out and makes puts out a condemnation of Donald Trump. That shit never used to happen. When presidents of prior generations either served out their 2 terms or were voted out, they would just like fuck off. They would go write a book, get paid cushy fees to speak at certain events. In the case of Nixon, he got paid, how much did he get paid? $2 million to give an interview to that Frost guy. There's a really good movie about that. Frost Nixon is a fucking really good movie. But as far as I'm aware, Barack Obama was the first president to break that norm. Talk about Democrats breaking norms. Like, hello. Barack Obama coming out and speaking out against Trump, that was a violation of a norm. That was, a norm that every previous president respected, basically. Can I get more examples? What norms do you think that the Democrats, I saw blue slips. I think I agree. I don't know a lot about blue slips. I think blue slips just basically means that the senators of specific states can unilaterally block judges, right? Hutch, I think Trump broke it first. No. That's not true. Obama spoke out against Trump during his first term. What are some concrete examples that you guys want to see the Democratic president do starting January 20th, 2029? Like, what norm do you guys want to see them violate to do like a tit for tat situation that would benefit us politically? Lock him up. Oh my God. We've already talked about that. They need to make a public trial for the Trump admin day one. Okay, hang on. Let's move past that one. Tar and feather. Okay, all right. Taking it back to American Revolution tactics. Supreme Court, maybe. That's a little vague. Remove tariffs and destroy the ballroom. So first of all, I am for destroying the ballroom, and I'm for removing tariffs, yes. Redistribute ICE funding for Green New Deal. Ooh, okay. Interesting. Reverse all Trump EOs. You wouldn't be breaking any rules by doing that. You can just do that. Don't destroy the ballroom. Turn it into a homeless shelter. Ooh, there you go. You asked what norms should be broken, and you just said what the Dems should do. No, I'm asking what the president, maybe I should be more specific. The next president, Democratic president, what I keep hearing, like, we got to do tit for tat. There are no rules if they're not playing by the rules in the context of norms. Like, the independent nature of the DOJ is a norm, not a law. Justice for Trump admin is unpopular on the right, so we shouldn't seek justice. Hang on a second. Guys, I never said that the Trump administration should be shielded from accountability or justice. I will repeat that as many times as I have to. We shouldn't just do what Trump did, but liberal version, that's such a juvenile reactionary sentiment. I don't want any norms broken. I just want them held accountable, norms broken or not. You can, but my whole point is that you can do that without breaking the norm. Appoint a competent AG and let the chips fall where they may. That's my position, yes. I would say, I mean, obviously you want a competent AG, but I want an aggressive AG. The Garland appointment, I think, was very politically motivated. It was like he was kind of like telling a redemption story by doing that. He was kind of playing into like a liberal narrative or liberal kind of storytelling. And I can appreciate why he did that at the time. Obviously, in retrospect, I think Garland was not up for that moment, specifically when it came to accountability for Trump. What would you satisfy, or what would satisfy you, Hutch? Or are you still trying to figure that out? What justice do you need to see? What would satisfy me is Donald Trump in a prison cell and his children, if they have any kind of criminal involvement in like corrupt bribery schemes with their fucking meme coin, them in prison, certainly Trump for the rest of his life. Maybe his kids, maybe they can get out and have a few more good years, but that would satisfy me. And if that doesn't happen, I'll be bummed, but I'm more focused on the bigger picture anyways. I'm more invested in my country kind of finding its footing again. I care about that more than I care about Donald Trump in a prison cell, which is not to say that I don't want Donald Trump to go to fucking prison, because I do. Anyways, we can kind of go further here. Pale Temperature says, Hutch copes with the fact that politically motivated prosecutions, which by the way are far more motivated by rule of law than owning Trump, make him uncomfortable by saying they're unpopular, which by the way are far more motivated by rule of law than owning Trump. So what would make it a politically motivated prosecution is if it came from the president. Even if the president directs DOJ to investigate Trump, and even if they find legit evidence of crime beyond a reasonable doubt sufficient to convince a jury, that would still be a politically motivated prosecution, because the genesis of that prosecution came from a political directive. So you can muddy the waters of an investigation and prosecution by it being politically motivated, which is why it's better to not do it that way. Hutch, if the AG says they want to focus on other criminals than Trump, should President Newsom get a new AG? Well, hopefully that wouldn't have to happen in the first place. Like, I feel really confident that if Newsom appointed Jack Smith as AG, that motherfucker would hit the ground running, okay? I'm off this train. The reason why these MAGA people are so brazen is they expect us to do the right thing. Go after tech companies that supported Trump and take away their government contracts. Attack conservative schools and take their funding. Make sure they understand that everything is a two-way street. Okay, this argument drives me insane because it assumes that the Republican Party and conservative voters, it assumes that they're rational. Don't people understand this? It assumes that it's possible to like, quote unquote, teach them a lesson. Everything that he just described is like super corrupt, right? Like, I don't really like the state being that directly involved in markets in this kind of way. I mean, I would be open to like some things, but do we really want the Democratic version of Ron DeSantis, like going to war with Disney in Florida? And also, like, Biden kind of did this, but for kind of different reasons. Like, Biden iced out Tesla from the EV summit, which is reportedly like the main reason why Elon switched to supporting Republicans. But Biden had an EV summit at the White House, didn't invite the largest EV manufacturer in the country because they didn't support unions. It wasn't because, it wasn't because Elon was like vaguely problematic or explicitly problematic or partisan in favor of Republicans. It was because he didn't support unions. That's why he didn't get invited to the White House. But like, what companies would we go after? Do you want like Democratic governors, making life hard for, I don't know, like BlackRock Coffee or something? Like, what are we like, go to war with Target? Like, what are we talking about? I would agree with Hutch's point if it was 2020, but at this point we need to fight back because it's gotten out of hand. I'm asking you to just pause, to not be reactive, and to just consider the consequences of your actions. Like, what do we get by emulating this Republican strategy of, quote unquote, like going after the tech companies that supported Trump? Like, which tech are we talking about? Amazon? Are we talking about Facebook? Like, every billionaire that was at the inauguration to just like aggressively target specific companies? How are we not devolving into like just state crony capitalism at this point? This assumes that MAGA is fucking rational, you guys. What evidence do you have that if the Democrats started behaving reciprocally, is that a word, reciprocally? I think it is, right? Are you really telling me that you think Republicans would have a fucking come to Jesus burning bush moment and they'd be like, oh shit, I understand now, we can't do this in the future? Do you really think they're gonna do that? What about MAGA? Do you do they strike you as rational? No, they wouldn't, bro. Jesus, what is this straw man? Wait a second. I'm directly responding to this. You understand this, right? The person is saying like, fucking go after them. Sanction tech companies and take away the funding and fucking attack conservative schools and make sure they understand everything is a two-way street. Guys, they already think that the Democrats do everything that they're doing and worse. They already think that. Don't you understand that? Maybe the politicians know better, but I think a lot of them don't. And certainly MAGA voters, they are fully convinced that the Democrats, it's just all projection. They think everything that Trump has done, this corrupt shit, they think Biden did times 10. They already believe that. So let's say you get into office and you start doing these, vindictive things because you want to go tit for tat. This idea that like, oh, this way you're going to make them understand it's a two-way street is so dumb. These are not rational people. The most effective way to beat MAGA, guys, and this is just the boring, straightforward answer. The most effective way to beat MAGA and to take power away from them and to make sure that they cannot do these really bad things is by building the biggest coalition you can possibly build. That's how you do it. You expand the tent and create reliable Democratic voters. You convert a lot of right-leaning independents and centrist independents. You convert them into reliable Democratic voters. That's how you do that. I don't think Newsom would be a good presidential candidate in 2028. I mean, as of right now, I agree. Okay. So here we go. Like, yeah. And then somebody echoes the sentiment, tit for tat. Yes, he keeps having this liberal delusion that American people deeply care about this shit. And when they see the Dems breaking this norm, they will flip on them rather than the truth, which is that the only people who care about this are politics junkies who read the New York Times or watch online politics shows. And most of those people are 100% decided on their side either way. The issue is that the Dem base is highly politically attention paying. So they actually can't just lie or contradict themselves as much as Trump and MAGA, which just has a cult and the rest of the voters don't pay attention or care about any of this shit. I mean, I think this is a massive generalization. There's a lot of people in this country that are disengaged, but this idea that, nobody gives a fuck about these norms anyway, so you might as well just let it rip. I think, listen, my ideal utopian future would be to get back on a path of like strengthening our institutions and establishing more trust with American voters in these institutions. That's going to take a long time. That's going to take a really long time. That's not something that happens overnight, but I think that has to be the goal. Otherwise, we're just speed running to a failed state. Hutch's views are why Dems are so unpopular even against Trump. People are angry and want that represented, not saying unhinged, but angry. It's okay to be mad. I mean, I agree. Also, Hutch pisses me the fuck off. Hassan is laying into Loner Box and calling him a Destiny orbiter, and Hutch feels the need to, quote, defend him, saying he hasn't talked to Destiny in years. I'm sick of people playing into this bullshit. It's the smartest tactic Hassan has ever used, making an insult to be friends with Steven. These people let it work. It's why Ethan did that regarded pedo video, just sick of it. The point of, I tweeted out something that Hassan was just lying about a loner being a Destiny orbiter. But the point of the tweet was to highlight the fact that it just kind of blew me away how flippantly and flagrantly and casually Hassan lies. He will just make stuff up. He will knowingly spread lies. That was the point of that. You wanted to take that personal. Their arguments are always the same. Hutch is right that there are leftists who don't actually want the Democratic Party to succeed, and Pisco ends up defending them because he mistakenly thinks they're criticizing the party from the same place he is. But Hutch is too afraid to support the party, taking strong positions that don't poll well at first. Pisco believes Democrats should take firm stances on liberal values and work to shake the public opinion. And on that point, he's right. Wait a second. No, hang on. But this isn't true, though. Like the idea that the president shouldn't be directing political prosecutions, that is a liberal value. That is a liberal norm. That is respect for the rule of law. You want the rule of law to be enforced through mechanisms that don't have political influence. That's the value. When you say stuff like the next president should tell the DOJ to prosecute Trump, you're doing the fucking lefty thing. You're doing the fucking benevolent dictator thing. That's what you're saying you want. You want the benevolent dictator. That's what you're saying. Establishing trust should be number one. People are always angry. Retaliation is an unmeasured response to feed the ego. It doesn't help. Bravo. Thank you. Couldn't have said it better myself. People are chasing like a dopamine high without thinking about things as like rationally as they can. So true. At first, Dem voters were kind of split on gerrymandering. But Newsom used the moment to galvanize his state and a bunch of other blue ones to push for gerrymandering their congressional districts to remove Republican House seats. All it takes is one brave soul to take that first step. People are also generally mind-fucked about what the president is supposed to do. The ones that actually understand it as one of three branches that have to work together to govern are going to vote blue no matter who, because they understand how fucked things are. But for others, Trump is setting standards. It's going to take decades to shift the average sentiment. But this is like a really good example, I think, of Democrats violating a kind of self-imposed norm. We had previously had this principled stance against gerrymandering, and it became obvious, I guess it should have been obvious years ago, that we were doing unilateral disarmament in a way that was, if Trump would have executed on his plan to just steal a bunch of seats, that would have materially harmed the or politically like really damaged the party's prospects in the future. And so what did he do? He like used the bully pulpit. This is like perfect example of like using policy. He used the bully pulpit to challenge that norm and say, look, we can't do the unilateral disarmament. And then what did he do? He put it to the voters through a measure in California to amend the state constitution to allow for early redistricting. This is like a really good example, I think, of a tit for tat that works. Like, this is a good tit for tat, but it's not inherently corrupt. That's the difference. You're going through a legal process to change the state's amendment or to change the state's constitution. Okay, Todd's, what'd you have to say here? I think the actual situation is more complicated than either side and probably not helpful to try to game out, to game theory out electorally. Yes, Trump and other MAGA have been successful catering to the vindictive, but we can say that about any policy right now because they're in power. That doesn't mean it will have the same support from voters we would need. Their vindictiveness is successful because of how vindictive the voters are. Plenty on the Dem side would be too, and more righteously, but in general, being the side that advocates for defending the rule of law is going to have a harder time reconciling that with campaign messages that toe that line. On the other hand, I agree overall that Hutch has settled way too deep into this thinking since Republicans weaponize every bit of restraint we uphold. Swearing off it too hard just helps them. And it's also just true that Republicans need to be held to account. So I certainly wouldn't want a Democrat to dodge the idea entirely, and holding back entirely on a decency, civility, not legal basis is just unacceptable. So I'm not saying that we should be eternally decent and civil with Republicans. I've never said that. You can be very firm in your rhetoric. You can be very direct. You can be very confrontational. And again, I just need to ask, like, how has Trump's vindictiveness like helped Republicans? Did he win because of vindictiveness? Maybe more so you could make that case in 2016. Did he win in 2024 because of vindictiveness? Winning elections. That I keep trying to make the point though that like he is an electoral liability. He has 100% backing of his party, but he doesn't though. That's just not true. He won 2 elections though, but did he win? Like, why did he win in 2016? Did he win because of vindictiveness, or did he win because people had become disillusioned with American politics? Like, do you think like lock her up was the thing that pushed him over the line in 2016? Or do you think it was more complex than that? He definitely did not win in 2024 running on vindictiveness. He won in 2024 running on fucking prices. Gas prices, grocery prices, the economy. What has being vindictive got him? Has being vindictive actually helped Donald Trump? I don't think so. He's alienated Republicans that would otherwise be competitive. He flipped Georgia and Arizona blue, for Christ's sakes. He flipped them back on the presidential cycle, but Democrats had, didn't Democrats win the governor's seat in Arizona in 2024, or was that a different seat? He won the presidential race twice. You can say all these things, but did he win because he was vindictive? Or did he win because people trusted him with the economy? For right or wrong reasons, that doesn't matter. His vindictiveness alienated Arizonan voters. His vindictiveness pushed out Republicans that would have safely won seats that they went on to lose. Are you saying that vindictiveness did not really hurt him in 2022? He was boosting candidates in 2022 that were pushing election denialism. Like, he was pushing candidates that were running on still like relitigating 2020. And they lost so many winnable races, like several Senate seats, governor seats. So the way I see it, his vindictiveness is not a political like strength. It has not helped him. He would have been more successful and accumulated more political power if he wasn't petty and vindictive. Well, it's personally enriched him for sure. Like, being president, there's no doubt about that. I'm asking you, like, has his vindictiveness built political power? Hey, so that vindictive thing was me siding with you, Hutch. I was saying they're more forgiving of it in a way that Dem voters often won't be. I'm not saying he won because of it. Okay, gotcha. Hutch overdoses on a cocktail of hopium and norm pills. Half the country is literally so brain broken they still support Trump after the last year. Actually, it's closer to a third of the country at this point, just to be clear about the numbers. Wait, hang on. This is not true. Where are these doomer vibes coming from? Why is this happening? How are people not updating their priors from November 2024? We are well past that. We have seen his popularity plummet. There was a not insignificant number of Republican voters who voted for the Democrat in the state Senate seat in Texas over the weekend. He is hemorrhaging support. Why are people committed to this idea that he's this like unstoppable force? What has he actually done as president that will be like lasting and meaningful? What has he done as president so far that cannot somewhat expeditiously be undone by the next president? I mean, it's going to take some time to rebuild, like the Department of Education and USAID, for example. That's going to take a little bit of time to ramp up that infrastructure. But like a quarter would actually support actual Hitler for president. That's probably true, actually. That's probably true. It's probably about 25% of the country, I would say. We have Asmongoids who would trade a global hegemony for a bigger video game Boomba. And motherfucker tried to coup the government, and then he won the popular vote. All of this is happening, and Hutch is like strawman voice. Oh, guys, don't worry. A Democrat is going to win a town selectman election in Nebraska. This means everything is on the right track. A Democrat will win the presidency in 2028, and everything will magically go back to normal. Talk about fucking strawman. Jesus Christ. I fucking hate doomers. I fucking hate doomers. I don't hate them. I don't hate anyone. But I fucking hate doomers, bro. There's a reason why Republicans are openly panicking about the midterms, okay? There's a reason why every polling analyst in the country are all saying the same thing, which is that these, town selectmen elections in states like Nebraska actually matter when you put them all together and you look at the trend, which is just like this really pronounced trend away from the Republican Party. Like the last time we saw this kind of movement away from the party in power was the fucking Tea Party movement. That is currently happening right now. And it's happening not just in Nebraska, it's happening in fucking Texas. It's happening in fucking Mississippi and shit. This is not just like, if you don't think that that's pointing to a bloodbath in the midterms, then you are, I don't know who agrees with you that like analyzes election results and, you know, the current politics dynamics or whatever. CID with $5. Hutch is on the Titanic arguing about what we should do first when the ship docks. Ooh. Yeah, I just listen. I think there's good reasons to be bullish on America still. I think there are reasons to like take the white pill. All elite memes with $10. People are angry and want that reflected. Rational decisions aren't made from anger. Representatives are supposed to parse through that emotion and find real solutions, not satiate it with bad policy. Yes, this is the difference between like responsible leaders and populists. Populists traffic in demagoguery. They capitalize on that rage. They channel that rage. They like feed red meat. Like they just like pump their audiences full of rage. And in doing so, like, move us further and further away from helpful solutions. If you have given up, give up fully and leave the space. Right? That you have to have optimism at the core of your politics. You have to, right? That's necessary. Otherwise, fucking build a makeshift shelter in the forest and just go full like Unabomber with it, except without the bombing. Just go live amongst the animals. Or get ready to fight a revolutionary war. But like one of the two things, okay? Don't sit around and tell other people that they should be hopeless. There are better uses of your time. I agree with you, Hutch, but I also don't think you are being fair at the moment. I live in deep red Tennessee. You are insulated, bro. You're in California. But my opinion about the current dynamics not informed by me being like a California resident. I'm looking at the national trends. And right now there's a 5-alarm fire in the halls of DC right now. Because all these Republicans know that they are barreling towards an electoral catastrophe. They all know it. We're 5 minutes away from Hutch saying rebellions are built on hope. I mean, listen, I got like really good Rogue One vibes watching the people of Minneapolis take to the streets. That shit made me feel good. That shit made me feel hopeful. I was like, fuck yeah. Those are people risking their own personal safety to rebel against government tyranny. That shit made me feel good. Rebellions are based on hope is actually a line from Rogue One, Devoff. Just so you know, that's where that line comes from. Not Andor, which was the follow-up series to that show, to that movie. Wait, was that quote from A New Hope? Shit. Was the Rogue One line a homage to A New Hope? It's been a long time since I watched A New Hope. This black pill shit is driving me insane. Like, Donald Trump is falling off of a fucking cliff and people are doing reverse Green Lantern on this guy and it's just driving me insane. That and he never just lets the video play during a reaction. What? Slander. Obvious slander. Yeah, he doesn't seem to get the point that even if a Dem wins in 2028, the country is still irreversibly screwed unless we actually win a convincing mandate, punish these people, do massive structural change, and stop the things that allowed this to happen. Having another normal election win isn't going to fix this, just like the UK. America is literally speedrunning its own destruction. We have so much capital built up that everything still looks temporarily fine. Any other country that elected a guy like Trump would be facing much worse consequences. Well, I have never said that it's going to be an easy thing to like rebuild some semblance of consensus in this country. Like, the United States had the benefit of having like a very real kind of boogeyman with World War II and then, you know, fucking 50 years of the Cold War with the Soviet Union. And there was a kind of uniting element to being an American, and that kind of crescendoed with September 11th, and then that's been on the decline ever since. And now it's like we literally live in two different universes. If I have a conversation with a Republican, they are literally operating in totally different understanding of the universe, and sometimes like literal like physics and science, like, you know, like literally they reject the kind of that stuff. I've never said it's going to be an easy, simple, or fast thing to get the country on a better track. I don't think that we should take steps to speed run. Like, do not make the mistake of your leftist brethren and think that a benevolent dictator that is on our side is going to fix things. Hutch is interacting with these two crappy Reddit posts more than he does in chat in a month. That is fucking slander. 3 years ago, maybe I interacted with chat less. That's like most of my streams now, unless I'm having a conversation with somebody like Ryan Getty or Pisco. All I'm doing is getting fucking stun locked by chat. You're crazy. Hutch, not even a conviction would stop Trump because of the coward judge. I think people just want him to face accountability even if it breaks norms. Yeah, but yeah, again, I just like, listen. You are playing into the idea of a benevolent dictator will save us. A benevolent dictator on our side will save us. Extremes. That's not true. You feckin' liar. All right, let's get to the age. No, wait, hold on. No. We got to get to the Soy Pill versus Michael
You don't
Knowles.
like Somalis, so just come out and So just come out and say that.
I might say that.
This is on Michael Knowles' channel. The boy, the lad, with the hands down, the most bulbous, plump ass you will ever see on a man. I'm talking about Soy Pill.